stop.
Yes, sir! Of course, sir! I can...
I have time for this nonsense. I have a problem.
Pamela Prescott had never imagined that a routine Monday at the cafe could change her life forever. She balanced a tray of drinks. She had just prepared 2 caramel lattes, a matcha latte, and her own iced coffee, weaving carefully between customers at Kingston's busiest cafe. The smell of roasted coffee beans mixed with the sweet aroma of pastries, and the morning sun streamed through the windows, lighting up the polished wooden floors. Her life was ordinary, predictable, and safe, exactly the way Pamela liked it. Until the moment it wasn't. One misstep on a tiny wet patch by the counter, a distracted glance at her phone, and disaster struck. A caramel latte flew through the air. The coffee collided with a man she would later realize could have starred on the cover of every fashion magazine in the world. Dark, piercing eyes, hair perfectly styled, a crisp white shirt ruined in seconds. Pamela froze. "Oh my God! I'm so," she stammered, grabbing napkins frantically. "I can clean that. I'll pay for dry cleaning." I didn't mean. He didn't move. He didn't even blink. He just let the coffee drip down his shirt, each drop a dagger to her already panicked heart. "Stop," he said finally, low and commanding. Pamela's hands hovered awkwardly over the mess. "Yes, sir. Of course, sir. I don't have time for this nonsense," he continued, his voice sharp and steady. "I can," she began again, but he silenced her with a calm, cold gaze. Then, in a move Pamela would never forget, he leaned close, too close. The scent of his cologne, a heady mix of spice and authority, made her heart thump painfully. "I have a problem," he said. Pamela blinked. "You have a coffee problem?" "No," he replied, voice dropping, sharp and deliberate. "I need a wife. In 24 hours. Pamela's jaw dropped. "You what?" "I choose you," he said simply. "Tomorrow you will be at my penthouse in Seoul. Married. Don't disappoint me." Her brain short-circuited. "Wait. Hold on. I'm a barista. I don't care," he interrupted smoothly, already walking toward the door. "You will be there. Or don't bother showing up." Pamela's hands shook, sticky with coffee, as the reality sank in that a billionaire had just chosen her of all people to be his wife in 24 hours. Her ordinary life in Jamaica, her small cafe, her safe little world, it was over. Pamela Prescott was about to enter a universe of luxury, chaos, and danger she had only seen in movies, and if she survived the night, she might discover that some chaos was worth every risk. The airplane touched down in Seoul with a smoothness Pamela could never have expected. Her heart thumped like a drum as she peered out the tiny window at the sprawling city below, a glittering metropolis of neon lights, high-rise buildings, and roads packed with vehicles that seemed to move at the speed of her panicked thoughts. Ji-hoon, silent and unreadable beside her in first class, didn't offer her a single explanation during the flight. He simply gestured for her to sit, then leaned back in his seat, eyes closed, his sharp profile catching the soft cabin light. Pamela fidgeted, clutching the small carry-on bag he had allowed her, wondering if she had dreamed the last 12 hours. She had spilled coffee, nearly ruined a billionaire's shirt, and somehow agreed or been forced into marriage in 24 hours. "Are you always this calm?" she asked cautiously, breaking the silence. He opened one dark eye and gave her a sidelong glance. "Always. That's why I get results." Pamela nodded weakly. She decided not to ask what kind of results he meant. She suspected it would only make her panic worse. The car that picked them up from the airport made her gasp. A sleek, black luxury sedan with tinted windows and an interior softer than her apartment bed in Kingston. "You own this?" she asked, eyes wide. Ji-hoon didn't answer. He just pressed the button to close the door and leaned back, hands folded over his tailored suit jacket, exuding calm, dangerous power. The city blurred past as the car wound through Seoul's skyscraper-lined streets. Pamela tried to take it all in. The glowing signs, the speed, the sophistication. Her stomach flipped with every turn. Finally, the car pulled up in front of a towering glass and steel building, more palace than residence. The entrance gleamed under the soft evening lights, fountains spraying water like silver threads. Ji-hoon stepped out first, his presence magnetic, commanding. Pamela followed, hesitant, feeling small in the shadow of his world. The elevator ride up to his penthouse felt impossibly long. When the doors opened, Pamela's jaw literally dropped. The penthouse stretched endlessly, walls of glass revealing Seoul's glittering skyline, including the Han River glimmering like liquid silver in the fading sunlight. Plush white couches, modern art, gold accents, every detail screamed wealth, style, and precision. "This is wow," Pamela whispered, stepping in cautiously. Her shoes clicked softly against the polished floors. "I've never seen anything like this." Ji-hoon's dark eyes followed her, unreadable. "You will get used to it. Or not. Doesn't matter." Pamela walked slowly, taking in the enormous kitchen, the elegant dining area, the massive balcony overlooking the city. Everything was foreign, extravagant, and slightly intimidating. She paused at the balcony, taking a shaky breath. "So this is your life?" He stepped up beside her, hands in pockets. "Yes, and now it's yours too." Pamela turned to look at him. His expression was calm, but there was something in his eyes: intensity, power, a hint of curiosity. "I'm not sure I belong here," she admitted softly. Ji-hoon's gaze flicked to her face. "You'll learn quickly, or you won't. That's your choice. But you're here now." Her heart thumped in her chest. She felt dizzy, overwhelmed, and for reasons she couldn't explain, a little thrilled. Suddenly, Ji-hoon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then locked eyes with her. "There's a schedule. Dinner with business partners in 2 hours. Be ready." Pamela blinked. "Dinner with partners? But I don't mean, I've never even been, in this world." He shrugged. "You will learn. Tonight." Her stomach twisted, but a small spark of excitement ignited. Somehow, impossibly, she felt alive. This world, this man, this sudden chaos, it terrified her. But it also called to something deep inside her. Adventure, challenge, and maybe a hint of romance. Ji-hoon turned toward her. "Change quickly. Black dress, high heels, hair up. You will meet the people who run my empire in less than 2 hours." Pamela swallowed hard. "Okay, black dress, right?" As she walked toward the dressing area, still shaking, she realized one undeniable truth. Her life had changed forever, and the man who had spilled coffee in her world had now dropped her straight into his ruthless, luxurious, and dangerously irresistible. Pamela Prescott stared at the black dress in her hands. It was sleek, form-fitting, and far more expensive than anything she'd ever owned. She had no idea how to walk in heels, how to make polite conversation with billionaires, or how to survive this sudden life. But she had 24 hours, and she wasn't about to back down. Ji-hoon didn't offer help. He stood by the doorway, arms crossed, watching her struggle with a pair of stiletto heels. "Need help?" she asked cautiously, lifting one trembling foot. He raised one dark eyebrow. "Do you always ask strangers for instructions?" She flushed. "I'm asking my future husband." The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Almost." "Fine," he said softly, finally stepping closer. In a few precise movements, he helped her slide into the shoes. "Stand straight, chin up. Don't look like you're going to fall off a cliff." Pamela swallowed. Standing straight was harder than she thought. Her heart pounded not only from fear, but from something else, an excitement she couldn't name. The elevator doors opened to the skyline dining hall of Ji-hoon's penthouse. A long table gleamed under soft chandeliers, set perfectly with crystal glasses, silver cutlery, and plates that looked like they belonged in a museum. Business partners and associates sat already, talking quietly, laughter and low voices filling the room. They paused as Ji-hoon entered, eyes immediately drawn to him and then to Pamela. Pamela felt every gaze on her body. She straightened, lifted her chin, and gave the smallest polite smile she could manage. She felt exposed, out of place, but determined. Ji-hoon's dark eyes met hers, steady, protective, challenging. "Miss Prescott," he said, voice low, carrying just enough authority to hush the room. "Meet the team." She nodded, voice trembling slightly. "Hello. It's an honor to meet all of you." The room was full of sharp suits, sharper minds, and the kind of power Pamela had only seen in magazines. Men and women whispered quietly to one another, studying her, evaluating her like a specimen under a microscope. She knew she had one shot to make an impression as the dinner began. Pamela fumbled slightly with the cutlery, spilling a drop of wine. Her cheeks burned, but Ji-hoon's hand brushed hers discreetly under the table. A grounding touch. "Relax," he murmured softly, just enough for her to hear. She nodded, taking a deep breath. Slowly, she started to engage in conversation. When a partner asked her about her background, she spoke honestly, confidently. "I'm a barista from Jamaica. I manage a cafe, and I'm studying business on the side. I like learning, observing, and understanding people." A brief silence fell. Then one of the older partners nodded approvingly. Another raised a glass. Pamela realized for the first time in hours that she might actually belong here. Ji-hoon's eyes never left her. At one point, he leaned slightly closer, murmuring, "Not bad. You're sharper than you look." Pamela swallowed. Sharper than she looked? That almost sounded like a compliment, but from him, it was dangerous, teasing, and thrilling all at once. By the end of the dinner, Pamela had survived polite conversation, subtle tests of etiquette, and a few thinly veiled attempts to embarrass her. She had smiled, laughed, and even made one business partner genuinely chuckle at her unexpected wit. When dessert was served, delicate chocolate truffles, Ji-hoon leaned toward her. "You're doing well. Don't let them intimidate you." Pamela felt a spark of something she hadn't expected. Confidence, growing alongside an adrenaline rush. She could survive this world, maybe even thrive in it. But just as she relaxed slightly, Ji-hoon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his face tightening. "They're calling about the press," he muttered, dark eyes locking on hers. Pamela froze. "The press? What now?" Ji-hoon stood abruptly. "Come with me," he said, and the entire table fell silent as they left the dining hall. Pamela's heart raced. She had survived the dinner. She had impressed some people. She had not embarrassed herself completely, but she had a sinking feeling that this was only the beginning. Outside the hall, Ji-hoon's hand brushed against hers just slightly, but enough to make her pulse thunder. "Tomorrow," he said, voice low, almost intimate, "you'll need every ounce of charm, courage, and grace you have. Are you ready?" Pamela nodded, cheeks warm. "I'll try." He gave a small, rare smile. "You'll do more than try. You'll astonish them. And me." Pamela's stomach flipped. Astonish them and him? As she followed him toward the private elevator. The city lights of Seoul stretched endlessly beneath them, bright, alive, and chaotic just like her heart. And for the first time, Pamela Prescott realized that the coffee spill that ruined her morning had also launched her into a world she might never leave. The next morning, Pamela woke to the soft hum of the Seoul cityscape below her penthouse window. Sunlight filtered through the floor-to-ceiling glass, glinting off the skyscrapers like gold dust. She blinked, remembering where she was, a world so far removed from the small cafe in Kingston that it almost seemed unreal that Ji-hoon had already left for an early meeting, leaving a note. "Breakfast at 9 a.m. Business etiquette begins at 10. Dress accordingly." Pamela groaned softly. Business etiquette? Dress accordingly? She had survived spilled coffee, international travel, and a billionaire's dining hall. Could she survive a full day of etiquette lessons? She dressed carefully. A tailored cream blouse tucked into a high-waisted black skirt, hair pulled into a sleek bun. It was simple, elegant, and just fancy enough to survive scrutiny. She practiced walking once on the marble floors, heels clicking like cautious drumbeats. 9:45 a.m. A car arrived to take her to the Seoul Business Club, an exclusive venue reserved for the city's elite. Ji-hoon was already waiting in the back seat, dressed in a charcoal suit, the epitome of control and power. "Ready?" he asked, voice low, almost casual. Pamela nodded, clutching her bag. "As ready as I'll ever be." The club's entrance loomed ahead, polished and imposing. Inside, the room smelled of rich wood, fine leather, and subtle floral perfumes. Men and women in sharp suits and designer dresses mingled, glasses of champagne in hand, eyes flicking toward the newcomers, Ji-hoon led her through the crowd, keeping a protective arm near hers without touching, his presence like a shield. Pamela noticed the whispers almost immediately. The Jamaican barista, the woman chosen in 24 hours, the scandal in progress, her stomach twisted. But Ji-hoon whispered, "Ignore them. Observe. Learn. Smile when appropriate. Eyes forward." Pamela swallowed. Eyes forward, observe, learn. Okay. She could do this. They approached a table where a group of executives were seated. One older man, gray-haired and sharp-eyed, studied Pamela like he could see her entire life story in a glance. Ji-hoon introduced her. "Everyone, this is Pamela Prescott. She will be joining our discussions for the day." Pamela's voice was steady, though her heart raced. "Good morning. It's a pleasure to meet you all." A few polite nods. A few raised eyebrows. A few whispers. She noticed a woman next to Ji-hoon giving her a skeptical smile, probably testing her, probably betting she would stumble. The first challenge was subtle. Conversation. Executives began asking pointed questions. "Tell us about your experience managing finances at the cafe," one man said. Pamela paused, then answered honestly, confidently, "I manage budgets, suppliers, and staff schedules. I've learned to maximize efficiency while maintaining quality skills I believe are transferable to any business setting." Murmurs rippled across the table. A few impressed nods. A few skeptical frowns. Ji-hoon's eyes met hers across the table. A flicker of approval. He whispered, "You're doing well. Keep your posture. Keep your voice calm." Next challenge. A toast. Ji-hoon's hand guided hers to the champagne flute. She had never held one so delicately before. Her fingers shook slightly. Ji-hoon leaned close. "Think of it as holding a prize, not a weapon." She breathed, lifted the glass, and made a polite toast to collaboration and growth. The executives nodded approvingly, and Pamela felt a tiny surge of pride. She was surviving. Then came the final subtle test, handling an insult without flinching. One of the younger executives smirked, leaning slightly closer. "I must say, it's unexpected to see someone from such humble beginnings in this circle." Pamela felt heat rise in her cheeks. Her instincts screamed to snap back, to defend herself. But she remembered Ji-hoon's words. Observe, learn, smile when appropriate. Instead, she smiled gently. "Thank you. I believe anyone with dedication and curiosity can contribute meaningfully to any environment." The smirk faltered. The room shifted slightly in her favor. After the meeting, Ji-hoon led her back to the car. Silence hung in the air, but it was comfortable, not tense, not awkward. "You handled yourself remarkably," he said finally, voice low, almost intimate. Pamela blinked. "Really? I didn't even spill anything." He allowed a brief, rare smile. "You didn't. And more importantly, you held your ground. That's something money and training can't buy." Her chest warmed. She had impressed him. Somehow, that mattered more than surviving the meeting itself as the car glided through Seoul streets back to his penthouse. Ji-hoon reached over briefly to adjust a stray strand of her hair. It was a small gesture, almost invisible, but it made Pamela's pulse stutter. She realized something terrifying. She was starting to care what he thought, and more dangerously, she felt like he might care about her, too. Seoul shimmered around them, a city of endless opportunity and peril, and Pamela Prescott had just taken her first real step into it, not as a visitor, but as a participant, a player, and maybe, unknowingly, as someone about to capture the heart of a ruthless billionaire. The limousine glided through the neon-lit streets of Seoul, the city's lights reflecting like shards of glass on the polished black hood. Pamela clutched her clutch bag nervously, her long evening gown a striking sapphire blue that made her feel simultaneously elegant and exposed. Ji-hoon sat beside her, immaculately dressed in a tuxedo that seemed carved to fit him perfectly. His expression was unreadable, but his dark eyes flicked toward her every so often, sharp and calculating. "You're nervous," he said finally, breaking the heavy silence. Pamela's lips pressed into a thin line. "No, I'm aware of the stakes." He allowed the smallest smirk. "Awareness is good. Panic is not. Remember everything I taught you this morning: posture, tone, smile, confidence. Pamela nodded, straightening her spine instinctively. She took a deep breath, willing herself to become the woman he needed her to be for the next few hours. The gala was held at a skyscraper overlooking the Han River, every floor-to-ceiling window offering a breathtaking panorama. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, and the room buzzed with the who's who of Korean business and high society. Pamela's stomach twisted as they entered. Every head turned. Whispers circled immediately. The Jamaican woman, the barista, the one Ji-hoon chose in a day. Eyes measured her, judged her. Some sneered. Others whispered conspiratorially. Ji-hoon stepped forward, hand brushing hers briefly, a grounding touch. Stay close. Smile when introduced. Answer briefly but confidently. Never falter. Pamela nodded, her pulse thrumming like a drum. The first test came quickly. Introductions. A powerful investor leaned forward, appraising her carefully. "Ms. Prescott," he said, voice smooth as silk. "Tell me, what is it that draws you to high-level business so suddenly?" Pamela lifted her chin, remembering everything she had learned. "I've always admired the way leaders create opportunities and solve complex challenges. I want to understand that process, contribute, and learn from the best." The man's eyes narrowed for a split second, evaluating. Calculating, then he nodded approvingly. A small victory. Throughout the evening, Pamela navigated conversations, champagne flutes, and polite laughter. Every glance, every whisper felt like a potential trap. And Ji-hoon's gaze followed her constantly, assessing, protective, possessive. During a lull in the mingling, Ji-hoon leaned close, voice low and private. "You're handling this remarkably. I didn't expect you to adapt so quickly." Pamela felt her cheeks warm. "I want to do well." "You're exceeding expectations," he admitted, his voice softer than usual. Then, almost as an afterthought, he added, "I enjoy watching you." Her heart skipped. "Enjoy watching me?" He met her gaze, his dark eyes holding hers for longer than she expected. "You're different from anyone I've ever met." The statement lingered between them, electric and dangerous. Pamela realized her pulse was no longer from nerves alone. Then came the subtle challenge of the night, a whisper campaign. One wealthy socialite, a woman in emerald green, approached Pamela with a sly smile. "I hear you're new to this world," she said, voice silky, eyes sharp. "Do you really think you belong here?" Pamela met her eyes, calm despite the tension. "I belong wherever I choose to stand," she replied evenly, her voice quiet but firm. The woman's smirk faltered. Pamela's words carried an unexpected weight, and for a moment, the room seemed to notice. Ji-hoon's hand brushed her arm under the table, a silent, protective message. "I've got you. By the end of the gala, Pamela had navigated introductions with investors, deflected veiled insults, and even charmed one of the oldest, most intimidating patrons with a witty comment about coffee culture versus corporate culture. As they left, Ji-hoon's rare smile appeared, subtle but unmistakable. "You were extraordinary tonight. Few can withstand that environment without faltering." Pamela exhaled, relief mingling with exhaustion. "Extraordinary? I was just surviving." He leaned closer, voice low and intimate. "You did more than survive. You impressed me." Her stomach fluttered, nerves and excitement tangled together. She realized, with a jolt, that she cared what he thought of her deeply, more than she had ever expected. As the car returned to the penthouse, Ji-hoon's hand brushed against hers once more, deliberate and comforting. The city stretched endlessly around them, bright and chaotic, much like her emotions. Pamela Prescott was no longer just a visitor in his world. She was a contender, a presence, and perhaps slowly, becoming something Ji-hoon couldn't ignore. The morning sunlight streamed through the sleek windows of Ji-hoon's penthouse, casting long shadows across the polished marble floors. Pamela sat at the breakfast bar, carefully pouring herself a cup of coffee. Savoring the quiet before the storm, Ji-hoon's phone buzzed relentlessly on the table. He picked it up, brows furrowed. "Pamela, there's been a situation. My team needs me immediately." Pamela looked up, concerned about knitting her brow. "What kind of situation?" He exhaled sharply. A rival company has leaked false information about one of my projects. The board is panicking. I need to head to the office. Before she could protest, Ji-hoon's hand lightly rested on her wrist, grounding her. I'm taking you with me. You've earned the right to see this side of my world.
Find out what happens in their relationship in the next episode, which is coming up soon, by clicking on the notification icon. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also tell us the country you are watching us from in the comments section so that we will make a story for you.